I've heard the AI buzz before, but this time at reInvent 2024, something clicked. AI wasn't just another buzzword, it was front and center in real-world applications, and I walked away with practical insights that I'm already applying at work. In this video, I'll share exactly what shifted my mindset from hype to practicality and how you can leverage it as well. Hi, if you're new around here, my name is Ryan. I'm an AWS certified solutions architect and developer, and my goal is to teach you modern serverless system design using AWS. Let's jump in. So as many of you know, this was actually my very first reInvent that I ever attended. I just want to say first off that the event was absolutely incredible, and I highly recommend that you go if you have not been already. There's just something about being at a big conference like that and being around a bunch of like-minded people who all want to build things with AWS that just really inspires you. Not to mention all the swag that you get. I have like 3 or 4 different jackets, a bunch of different shirts, some hats, and socks. So many socks. So now I'm just going to share with you some of my thoughts and observations on the event. Honestly, they might as well have just renamed the event to Re-AI Invent, because all of the keynotes and the majority of the sessions all were focused on AI or involved AI in some capacity. I knew going into the event that AI was going to be a big focal point, but I really didn't know the extent that it was going to go to. And honestly, going into the event, I thought that AI was mostly hype. But I think after the event, it's kind of opened my eyes to realize that AI is actually a lot larger and a lot more powerful than I initially thought that it was. And this is coming from someone who uses AI on an almost daily basis for my personal projects. I think that I've honestly been thinking too small with it, and this conference has been great for opening my eyes as to what's possible. Almost every booth on the floor of the expo hall also had a very pro-AI approach to their business. So obviously, another thing that's really clear is that AWS is going all in on AI. From Amazon Q for developers to Bedrock and their own proprietary foundation model, AWS is only going to be adding more services and integrating them more with their existing services as time goes on. And this brings me to my next observation, and that is that AI is not going anywhere. And it will probably dramatically change not just software development, but our entire society within the next few decades. I think that developers who accept this fact and in turn embrace it will be the ones who have the most success in the coming years. So on that note, Amazon Q for developers, Bedrock, and even GitLab Duo are all tools that are super interesting to me, and I can't wait to dive into them a little bit more. Since AI was the focal point of this reInvent, it's not surprising that 2 out of my 3 favorite sessions had to do with the integration of generative AI into existing workflows. My top 3 sessions were Werner Vogel's keynote on Simplexity, how to supercharge your DevOps practices with generative AI, and the journey and challenges of operationalizing generative AI at FINRA. First, Werner Vogel's keynote was my absolute favorite talk of the entire reInvent, and it deserves its own video breakdown. His keynote, titled Simplexity, explores how AWS customers manage the unavoidable growth of complexity in large-scale systems, while keeping user-facing experiences simple. Vogels illustrates how breaking services into smaller pieces, aligning organizations to architecture, and automating routine tasks help maintain speed and reliability. The first key point of this talk was evolvability and modularity. His emphasis was on designing systems that can be re-architected into smaller chunks without interrupting the user experience. The second key takeaway was predictability and automation. He emphasized minimizing operational load by automating anything that you can to ensure that you get consistent processes across the organization. The final observation from this keynote was that if you're finding value in this, please don't forget to like the video, and then also let me know down in the comments if there's any other videos that you want to see me make on this channel. So the reason why this talk was important to me. I'm working on a project at work that I think is going to potentially scale to be pretty large. I'm currently in charge of designing the backend systems for this project, so Vogel's actionable advice is actually very pertinent to my thought process when designing these systems. We're still in the early stages of designing the systems for this project to be scalable, so this advice arrived at the perfect time for me to apply this to a real-world project. My second favorite session was all about integrating AI into DevOps practices. This talk explores how DevOps principles such as continuous delivery, collaboration, and automation can be boosted with generative AI to streamline software delivery and operations. By integrating AI tools like Amazon Q Developer, Bedrock, and AI-driven bots for ticketing and code reviews, teams can accelerate development cycles, reduce manual overhead, and improve reliability through rapid incident resolution and automated postmortems. Some of the key points from this talk were that generative AI extends beyond just simple rule-based systems. It can aid in tasks like code refactoring, unit test generation, and incident runbook creation. Also, focusing on DORA metrics are the key to refining your implementation. Focusing on lead time, deployment frequency, failure change rate, and MTTR are some of the metrics that you should track to see if these processes are working. Finally, incident and ticket automation. This was probably the most interesting part of the talk to me. This actually focused on a couple different architectures, and the most interesting one to me was the auto auto-validation of Jira tickets. So why this talk was so important to me? Well, like I said before, there were a bunch of diagrams that were shown for different architectures to integrate AI into existing workflows. Specifically, there was a ticket validation and automation workflow that was integrated with Jira. Basically, anytime a ticket got created in Jira, it would get sent to this generative AI application, and that application would then validate to make sure the ticket had enough information, and if it did, it would work to flesh out the information that it had into a fully fledged description with requirements. We currently use Jira at work, so I feel that this would be an architecture that could potentially save a lot of developer hours that are usually spent on administrative tasks like managing tickets in Jira. This is actually an architecture that I'm super excited to dive in and try to build. Finally, the final talk was FINRA, which is a financial regulatory agency, and their journey to adopt generative AI into their organization. Because FINRA is a major US financial regulator, they have a lot of rules and regulations that they have to follow. The talk chronicles their journey and their phased approach that they took in order to bring generative AI into their organization and all of the benefits that they reaped by doing so. Some of the key points from this talk were the phased rollout approach that they took to integrating generative AI. They did numerous pilot programs to test different generative AI applications to figure out which one would work best for their use cases. Doing this phased approach also allowed them to ensure that they remained secure and compliant with each iteration. They also integrated a lot of training and governance into their rollout approach. This included doing prompt engineering workshops for their developers and ensuring that they had strict guardrails in place for the people who were using the generative AI applications internally. The final point is the amount of productivity boost that they had by integrating generative AI. Using Amazon Q, FINRA's development teams noticed faster code transformation, improved code quality, and just overall higher efficiency. And the reason why this is important to me is that the company that I work for has been very cautious in their approach and adoption to AI, and for good reason. AI is seen as a black box, and you're really unsure of where your data is going, if it's being stored or if it's being used to train the models that you're using. Because FINRA is a financial regulator and the number of regulations and rules that they have to follow themselves, seeing that they successfully integrated AI into their organization gives me hope. I think it outlines a real tangible path forward to integrate generative AI for any organization. And I'm hoping that this story is something that I can bring back to my company and share that it's possible. So that recaps my experience at my very first reInvent. Did you get a chance to go this year? Do you plan on going in the future? Let me know down in the comments. And also let me know down in the comments if there's any other videos that you want to see me make on this channel. Thank you for watching.